Steampunk was real. And by that I mean there really was a point in the Victorian era where there was all sorts of high-tech gadgetry about. And even just commonplace random people might have all sorts of high-tech gadgetry on them. And I want to keep this video really quick because it's so easy to go off on tangents and look at a million pictures of just go look at old pictures of the old world. It's so beautiful. And look at how old things already were in times past and how empty everything was, because it explains everything. And it has to do with resets, which is just another topic that is just so interesting. There's resets in history where they kill off a lot of people and they completely fabricate history again. So this is just such an enormous topic. I want to keep this video quick and go through my pictures and try to explain my idea as quick as I can, but here's my general idea behind steampunk was real. So I feel like this was a long time ago, where I didn't have as many puzzle pieces put together then, but I said the Victorian era probably stands for being victorious. They like to hide the truth in plain sight and just be on the nose like that. And they probably were victorious in something. And it's one of those situations where the winner rewrites history. So I believe the Victorian era was a reset time, and I don't know exactly the circumstances. Maybe it was a war, and I don't know, but this isn't a video to get into all of that. But anyways, one of the thing about resets is that there's all sorts of huge buildings left around, and they have to quickly scramble to rewrite history, to dig the old buildings out of them. I mean, okay, so I'm not even saying mud floods. Some resets, sure, maybe they have to do that. But anyways, each reset, there's so many buildings around that need to be explained away, and inevitably one part of that thing of going into the old cities and reclaiming the old giant buildings that are still around today, that have lived through many resets. That's one of the things that I personally believe about reset. I don't prescribe to any one theory. One thing that this video is I just want to promote alternative history. Of course, what they tell us is history is a bunch of BS, and everybody should be entitled to their own opinions. And when everybody has their own opinions and a bunch of smart people are out there sharing their own opinions and they start aligning on things, that's when you can start to unravel a better idea of what probably happened. And all truths shall be revealed in the very end when Jesus comes. Eventually, everybody will know the answer. So, okay. On with the video. So, yeah, what steampunk is it was right after the reset when they go back into the cities and they start rummaging around through all the old stuff left in the basements and they dust it off and they see if they can get working again. Steampunk is when people literally were just carrying around all sorts of gadgets that they found in the old buildings that were left around after a reset. And yeah, since the Victorian era, in my opinion, was one sort of reset. I don't know exact circumstances, but when were the orphan trains? I don't know, but resets happen probably pretty frequently and recently, I believe. So let's get into the other pictures. I think I explained my main theory though. Steampunk was a real time. Steampunk was a real time when the cities were very sparsely populated and there were so many buildings. Basically, all of the buildings in these cities were already there and the populations were just so low, and it would have been a crazy time to live. I don't know. The history just looks so ridiculous when you go back and look at it now, if you go and look at the pictures, and there's all sorts of channels out there. I'm not trying to make this video into that. I'm not trying to prove to you that history is false in this video. I just wanted to share the steampunk idea. But anyways, it is wild to think of back when those cities were so sparsely populated. Even today, sometimes it feels like, man, this is a lot of buildings around and not that many people. It would have been wild. So the plague mass is kind of interesting. Maybe some resets are biological warfare or some sort of plague event. It's very possible. But here you go. This is like a, you know how they got to make it crazy. What the media does is sensationalize thing and then say, look how crazy this is. When in reality, it really is the truth that the Victorian era had way too much technology and that their claims of tech are outlandish. It's kind of an allegory, really. The way that they go over the top with it like this and they try to make it like in outer space and futuristic, it's almost an allegory for how crazy it is that we're supposed to believe that the Victorian era people really had all this stuff and also were in like horse and buggy. And I think it's interesting that airships come up a lot, and I'm not going to get into it just because doesn't airship stuff comes up a lot with Old World and Tartaria. Here you go. They got to make it sexy. So this is not a video to get into the specifics. There's all sorts of channels out there that go over this stuff. The stories that they tell us about history make no sense. And this is steampunk. The Great Exhibition is the perfect example of steampunk, where you have outlandish technology going around in the Victorian era. You have these people with the most insane. So let's get to this, like this. So in my opinion, this classifies as steampunk because I believe whatever story they tell you, I don't even care. Usually I just reject it at face value. But my personal opinion is that this is something that they dug up or that they found or that just was already there. And I think that this point in history is just right at a reset where populations are starting to re-enter the big cities. And then some crazy lady in a robe declares that they're holding a festival and all ye come around and see these amazing things that I've made. I think that that's the truth of what actually happened. And so that's what steampunk is that you have these simple people walking around in buggies and they have these sparse populations and they have to pass off all of this tech. So they're just like, here, check out my gadgets. So they show them off. It's kind of weird. It's kind of just a strange time to think about. So I feel like I've mostly said everything that I want to say, but I think that these, like this, what it's all about is showing off all of the stuff that they've found. They have to just like show it off and to explain it away. I guess because it's either that or destroy it. So other than destroy it, they just have to throw a big party and say like, look at it, look at all these cool things that I just built. And the huge number of technologies that just burst out of the scene, really what it is they're just refurbishing old tech. They're finding the old stuff and they're having to explain it away. Somebody walks up and says, whoa, what's that thing? And you say, oh, that's my who you what's it. And it becomes just that's the history of it. Oh, I made it in 2 years. And that's how you get these insane inventors. It's where you get the whole mad scientist thing. That's somebody who just found an old chemistry lab. That's the whole idea of a mad scientist. That's somebody who, and probably, yeah, somebody who declares themselves to, because after a reset, they start the new society right away. So there will be people that are just like, I'm a chemistry teacher. So they find the old university building and they go into the basements and they start mixing the random chemicals together. That's probably why they get the tales of the mad scientists, why it was so popular back then. And anyways, maybe you have your own ideas after watching this video. Tell me in the comments. What do you know? They had a precursor to the fax machine. They just had all of this amazing stuff around. Who knows? Maybe the Eiffel Tower was already there. You know the crazy stories that they always say about, oh, they were planning on demolishing the Eiffel Tower too. I don't know. Are they good? So the thing is when you start to research this stuff, you find that construction photos barely ever exist, and if they do exist, they usually look very strange. Like the skies are totally white, or it looks like copy paste jobs. And yes, that technology, I mean, here they had a fax machine, so they could do Photoshop. In fact, I mean, I need to make a whole nother video on the photo technology, because it existed then and it's still better than today. There's, I don't think I have the screenshot here, but they already at this point had photography technology that is surpasses a digital of today. Because just when you use like digital, obviously has like pixel limitations, but if you use real life stuff like they were using, I don't want to get into the mechanics of it, but the resolution that they could get back then surpasses digital stuff of today. Anyways, see, I'm rambling already. Look how old this already looks. It already looks ancient, because it is, and it's so extravagant. Another topic I want to get into, I'm just saying this so that I remember. Look up the canal. I forget what it's called. Is it the canal era of America? It's so ludicrous to think that one of the very first things that they do when they come to the Americas is start building these enormous canals. Like that's the type of stuff an end society does. That's not like the very first thing you do when you come to a place. Let me build these massive canals. No, that's the stuff that you build after a population already exists. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Another thing. Here's just another big one. This is a bunch of BS. They had multiple different photography technologies back in the day. Some of them probably did need very long exposures, but what they'll tell you it took 20 minutes to take a photograph back in the day, which is not true. Not true at all. They did have quicker photography technologies. And what this is, look at what they're trying to pass this off as. To hold head still during long exposure time. No, and this has been exposed. It's been exposed that what they actually were doing was posing dead bodies. They had all sorts of chairs and things to pose up a dead body. And do you know what that was all about? Because they had such low population at that time, they had to fabricate enormous amounts of people, and they had to explain away the inventors of this tech. So part of what they would do, so there were people that literally their job was to just pose up a dead body. They would get some poor guy who just died and put him in a wig and pose him in a chair, take a photograph. Oh, here's the architect, whoever, who built that building over there. It was multiple people's full-time job to pose dead bodies and pretend that they're living people and write their backstories as an architect who built that. They were scrambling. That is how they do resets. It's all done with the pen and making crap up, enormous amounts of crap to cover up. They have to explain away just enormous amounts of stuff that is laying around. I've explained enough. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.